Okay, Pittsburgh Steelers. Here's my question to start off this recap. How is it possible to score a touchdown and somehow end up with less points than the week before, where you won by literally not scoring a single touchdown? Well, guess what, guys? That was a rhetorical question, and I'm going to tell you anyway in this recap because the answer to that question is something that I've been preaching about this franchise for the better half or for the better part of the last couple years or so. What's going on, everybody? I am Mac, back with another video. As always, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, follow on Instagram. Link is in the box below. Steelers 13, Broncos 6. The finals in final in Mile High this evening in Denver. Our first win against the Broncos in Denver since 2009. So don't get this mistaken. I'm not upset that we won the game. I'll never be upset about a win. Don't get that mistaken. Good job for them. They got the win. But I asked at the beginning, how is it possible to end up with less points than last week and you still score a touchdown? Well, a couple of factors play into that. I'm going to get the first one out of the way because the second one I really want to get into. It was a tale of two halves in this one. The Steelers were moving the ball efficiently. They were chewing up clock. They were dominating the Broncos on both ends of the ball, mainly on offense. And I felt like the Steelers left some points off the board in the first half, but still you're satisfied with a 10-0 halftime lead and you're like, okay, they did a couple of things wrong. Even Mike Tomlin said that the penalties needed to be cleaned up before halftime, but you still felt confident with a double-digit lead going into the half, right? Well, Fields had 101 yards passing in the first half, which is okay, not amazing, but considering he threw for a little over 150 yards in week one, you'll take it. There's a whole other half to go. Let's build up upon it, right? Justin Fields in the second half only threw for 16 total yards, and he ended up with 117 yards. The Steelers had 189 yards of offense in the first half, 62 total in the second half to end up with 251. Denver outgained us in yards for the whole day. And the Steelers, after having 13 first downs in the first half, only had 3 the entire second half. Yeah. Does any of that sound familiar to you guys? I mean, if you're a Steeler fan, if you're a longtime Steeler fan, you should know the answer to this. Now, yes, there were an avalanche of penalties in this game, more so on the offensive line. The Steelers had 10 penalties this evening, man. 10. Like, how long does it take to fix up an offensive line? For real. I was ready to give Dan Moore some credit because I thought he blocked really well last week, but went right back to his old self today. Hold after hold after hold with this guy. And as I said his name, I think he just got penalized for another hold. Ridiculous. And as far as the right side goes, it's time to stop experimenting with that. It's been time to stop experimenting with that. Troy Fautanu was cleared. He was healthy enough to play. So why do you keep putting Broderick Jones on the right side of the line where he struggles? And he's getting pushed around and beat up all day. Get Troy Fautanu, the guy that you took to be your right tackle, and put him there and get him his snaps and get him his experience. It's not rocket science, man. That's what it is. Because this game, aside from the Steelers playing conservative, aside from the penalties that were being made, aside from the mistakes, aside from the points that were being left off the board, guess what? It doesn't matter who's that offensive coordinator for us? It could be Arthur Smith. It could be Matt Canada. It could be Randy Fichtner. It could be Bruce Arians back in the day. It could be Todd Haley back in the day. It could be Ken Wisenhunt back in the day. It doesn't matter who our offensive coordinator is. Players and personnel come and go. What's the one constant that's been with this franchise the entire time of these 17 years? Mike Tomlin. And this is the reason that I am probably the harshest critic of Mike Tomlin, not just on YouTube, but possibly in this fan base, because no one else will say it other than me. The Steelers get way too conservative with a double-digit lead. The Steelers get way too comfortable with a double-digit lead. How many times in Mike Tomlin's tenure as head coach have you seen the Steelers be up 10-plus points, and then all of a sudden the opponent finds themselves right back in the game, and they make it unnecessarily closer than it should be? Way too often. And more often than not, the opponent ended up winning. That wasn't the case today. Thank God it wasn't the case today. But it just shows you that's the problem here in Pittsburgh. Okay, it's not so much the offensive coordinator. That is just part of the problem. Could Arthur Smith have called up a better game plan? Sure. But you saw that in the first half when we got our first touchdown pass of the season, our first touchdown alone of the season. Justin Fields found Darnell Washington on a brilliant drive. 7.5-minute drive, chewed up a ton of clock, gained a ton of yardage right there. They were moving the ball. They were running the ball. They moved the chains. The designs were good. Everything was there in the first half. And then it's like the second half comes, and it's like last week, how the Steelers had a crappy first half and had a way better second half. It was a role reversal. Awesome first half today, crappy second half today. No adjustments to Denver adjusting when they were stopping the ground game. When Justin Fields couldn't make a big play because of the penalties. The game plan is the same every year. And that's because of Mike Tomlin. So don't get this mistaken. I mean, I'm not upset that we won the game. I'm glad we won. Thank God we won. But how many times is this team going to be conservative with a lead? How many times are we going to win by less than 10 when we were up by double digits? We should have blown out the Broncos today, man. I know the penalties took a lot of big plays away from Justin Fields today, and I'll sit down here and give Justin Fields credit. I'm a critic of Justin Fields, but I'll give him credit for tonight. He played well. I thought Justin Fields played well tonight. He should have had way more yards than he did in the second half, but if it wasn't for the penalties and if it wasn't for the O-line, he would have had way more passing yards, and we probably could have won this game by at least 14. But I'll sit down here and give Justin Fields credit. I thought he played well, and I think he earned the right to be the starter for next week at least. We'll see how next week goes, because we're playing the Chargers next week, another AFC West opponent. Chargers are off to a great 2-0 start as well, although they haven't played the toughest of teams, I will say. But, I'm not taking anything away from them. They're 2-0. But it is what it is. Defense showed up again big time. I thought they did their job, made a rookie quarterback work, made a rookie quarterback, feel uncomfortable, sacked him a couple of times. Corey Trice, God bless the kid, first career interception, and I would love to see him get in the slot a little bit more. Made a great play in the end zone right there with that interception. It's a great story for him as well. Like, all the times that he's been hurt, all the times that he was doubtful to play, and he goes out there, plays a great game, locks down guys, comes up with an interception as well. Great game for Corey Trice. And then DeMonte KZ had the game-ending interception on the last play of the game for the Broncos. aside else from the offense, George Pickens, I'll say he has number one receiver potential. I think he's showing that, as the weeks go by. He really made Pat Surtain work today. As a matter of fact, I'll even say that he beat Pat Surtain today. I think Pickens had a really solid game tonight. I like that Freiermuth was being involved more, and he led the team in receivers, but he led the team in receiving. But this is also a game where it shows that we really just need, another receiver. Pickens can't keep doing it all on his own, and Muth can't keep being our second guy. Maybe, and Van Jefferson, I don't know if I can really just sit down here and say that Van Jefferson's our number two. Went ghost again today. Did almost nothing again today. So what's that tell you right there? We really need another standout receiver right there. But we win it 13-6, despite the game plan, despite just being conservative. And I hope that next week against the Chargers, okay, because if there are two things that I will give Tomlin credit for, the only two things that I will ever give Tomlin credit for are these. The team plays well on a Monday night game under Mike Tomlin. And Mike Tomlin usually does well against teams that are above 500. Those are the only two things I'll ever give Tomlin credit for. I said he usually does well against teams above 500. Not all the time, but he usually does. But a game like today, where you're up 10-0 and even 13-0 at one point, allowed Denver back in the game. You kept them out of the end zone at least. The Steelers have still only allowed one touchdown on the season, and that was last week. And it shouldn't have even been a touchdown, really, because it was just a BS penalty from TJ Watt that allowed Atlanta to score a touchdown. Other than that, the Steelers have not allowed a single touchdown all season, held Denver to 2 field goals tonight. But the point is, if you're up big on LA and you have a 10-plus lead, you have a 10-point-plus lead on them, you can't get conservative against them. You can get away with that against a team like the Broncos because Denver, I mean, they're off to another 0-2 start. They're not a very good team. And you're just fortunate that they had a rookie quarterback out there, and with a more experienced quarterback and with a more defined offense, they could have came back and beat us. LA, you give them that chance, they're going to beat you. So I better see more aggression with this team and less laziness with a double-digit lead. You take the win, you're 2-0. The Bengals and Ravens are also 0-2. They both lost today. I don't know how the hell the Raiders beat the Ravens. Not that I'm complaining about it. As a matter of fact, I love it. And the Chiefs beat the Bengals once again, so they're 0-2. The Browns, however, won today. They're 1-1. They got the job done in Jacksonville. But we're 2-0. We're sitting on top of the AFC North. We win and we lose and Cleveland wins next week. Things could be different. You can't have a game like that next week. You got to dominate the entire game. You got to dominate when you have a big lead like that. You cannot take your foot off the gas pedal or you take your foot off the throat like that. Plain and simple. So the Steelers got away with one today. You take the win, you run with it, but I want to see more aggression. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments below about tonight. I am Mac, checking on out for the day. Have a good one, everybody.